Okay.
Guess what I'm making tonight?
What?
Chicken biryani.
Woo! Yes, I'm so excited.
Now, if there's one thing I love doing, it's making my family smile with delicious food. And believe me when I tell you this, chicken biryani is a flavor bomb of goodness. And there are many variations out there, and all of them are delicious. But the one that I gravitate towards the most are the versions in India. So that's what I'm gonna hook up here today. First, though, we're gonna start with some prep. Sound good? Let's cook. I've got one hot finger pepper. You could also use a jalapeno or a serrano, or if you can find the classical Indian pepper, a kanthari, even better. What we're gonna do is slice off the end, slice it in half, then I'm simply gonna fillet out the pith and the seeds. All that heat is in the pith, and I'm just gonna remove it. If you happen to like spice, you be sure and leave it in there. Then I'm going to finely mince it and add it right to a large bowl. At this stage, I'm going to next finely grate in 8 cloves of garlic. Then I have about a 1-inch piece of peeled fresh ginger. I'm going to finely grate in there. It should equal about 1 tablespoon in total. Then I'm going to add in 1 cup of full fat plain yogurt. If you can find Indian dahi, fantastic. Do not use Greek yogurt here. Then I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of Kashmiri chili powder. If you can't find it, regular chili powder is great. Then 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder. Next, 1 tablespoon of coarse sea salt. Then I'm next going to add in 1.5 tablespoons of garam masala. Now I have a fantastic homemade recipe which you can check out on my butter chicken recipe. If not, you can also purchase it pre-made from your local grocery store. And if you want to take this to the next step, the classical spice blend would be called a biryani masala, and you would add 1 tablespoon of caraway seeds and 1 tablespoon of blackstone flour to my garam masala procedures and recipe. Now I'm going to add in the juice of 1 lemon, or about 2 to 3 tablespoons. This will help cut down on some of that spice, and we're going to whisk it together until it's combined. Now, there are several recipes out there that call for more minced ginger, minced garlic, and whole garam masala when searing off the chicken in the oil. To me, as long as your marinade is extremely flavorful, there's no need to add that additional stuff in when cooking it. Let's not overcomplicate an already ingredient-filled recipe. I promise you, if you cover the basics, there'll be plenty of flavor in the end. You got this. Let's get into the chicken now. For recipes like this, I just love to use a whole roasting chicken. It's just so much more economical to buy this than individual parts. Plus, with the few extras, we can make additional recipes. This one here weighs about 4.5 pounds, and you need to fabricate it down to breasts, thighs, and drums. If you need a good explanation on how to do this, be sure to check out my arroz con pollo video. Once you've broken it down into just breasts, thighs, and drums, what I'm going to do at this stage is just remove the skin by pulling it off. And like I said, there are leftovers. You've got carcass and skin, which you can freeze to make a delicious chicken stock with at a later date. And in addition, you've got chicken wings. They aren't great for this recipe, but they're amazing in recipes like my smoked chicken wing recipe. Be sure to check that out. What I'm going to do is make 2 to 3 1/4-inch to 1/2-inch deep incisions on each sides of these pieces of chicken. Now what we're going to do is add all these chicken parts right to that yogurt spice marinade in that large bowl, and we want to thoroughly mix everything together, completely coating it and getting that marinade into all the cracks and crevices all around our chicken. Once you've got it to a good place of rubbing it in for a minute or two, we're next going to cover it in plastic wrap. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I love chicken skin. There's so much flavor there. And if you crisp it up, oh, incredible. However, I'm already saturating this with full-fat yogurt, tons of spices, so I wanted to remove that skin barrier, create those incisions so that marinade can penetrate every little square centimeter of the chicken. All right, let's marinate it. Now, you can put it in the refrigerator to marinate for as little as 4 hours, but up to 24, and I highly recommend that 24-hour period. The longer you marinate, the more flavor you'll have. In the meantime, let's prep up some things. I've got 2 medium-sized red onions. We're just going to slice off the ends, slice them in half, then remove that outside skin, and I'm going to very thinly slice it on a mandolin. If you've got great knife skills, go ahead and practice and just julienne them with your knife. Now, you know my rules when it comes to slicing on a mandolin. Once you get a little nervous, you stop. There's no reason to go any further and risk slicing off some fingers. Set those to the side. And next, I've got 5 small vine-ripe tomatoes. We're just going to remove the core out of the center there, and all we're doing is large dicing these. Now, if you have fresh tomatoes from the garden, perfect. You could also substitute in 1 15-ounce can of diced tomatoes without the juice. Moving on, I have 2 large russet potatoes that we are going to quickly peel. Then we're just going to slice them in half and then slice about 1-inch thick slices out of each of those halves. What I like to do is just hold them in cold water, submerged completely, so that they don't turn brown. Now I've got 1 big bunch of fresh mint. I like to use the stems a little bit too because there's so much flavor in them. I'm going to finely mince these. I need a total of 7 tablespoons, which will be for the chicken and the rice as well. The next thing for the cilantro, I love using the stems. Do not skip out on that. So much great lemon lime flavor in those stems. A fine mince. We're also going to need 7 total tablespoons of finely minced cilantro. And now a really quick staple that's used as a garnish. I've got 3 tablespoons of warm whole milk. Of course, you could use 1%, 2%, or skim. We're going to add in a half teaspoon of saffron threads and mix it. We're going to set it to the side. We don't need it for several minutes. We want to let that milk turn nice and yellow in color. And I'll explain how we use it in just a little bit. Next, I'm going to pour in 3 cups of basmati. Next, I'm going to pour in 3 cups of good basmati rice right to a colander. I'm going over to the sink and I'm going to rinse it under cold water for several minutes or until the water coming out of the bottom is crystal clear. Once you get to this stage, I'm just going to submerge it and hold it in a bowl of cold water until it's ready to be used. And now it's time to start frying up our onions. I've got a large 10-quart Dutch oven pot. Over medium heat, we're going to add in a half cup of avocado oil, or if you have another frying oil you love, please use it. After about 90 seconds of heating up that oil, let's add in our onions. We're next going to season them up with a little bit of salt, maybe a half teaspoon. We're going to occasionally stir these and fry these for 15 to 18 minutes or until they're crispy and golden brown and loaded with flavor. In the meantime, we can start on our rice. I've got an 8-quart pot over medium-high heat. I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of ghee, which is clarified butter where the milk fats are toasted to a delicious nutty flavor. Spices that we're going to use for this rice, I have 1 bay leaf, 5 green cardamom pods, 2 black cardamom pods, a 1/4 teaspoon of fennel seeds, 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, 1 cinnamon stick, 5 cloves, and 1 star anise. Once the ghee is melted, we're going to add in all the spices and just saute it for only 1 to 2 minutes or until it becomes very aromatic. Doing this process of toasting off these spices will greatly enhance the flavor of our rice. Next, add in 1 gallon of water. Next, we're going to add in 1 gallon of water and season it up with enough salt so that it tastes like the ocean. And we're going to bring it to a boil over high heat. And look, I get it. This recipe does require some spices, but if you're into cooking, especially Indian cooking, these are things that you build over months or years like kitchen tools. Cooking is a hobby, a passion, a love. It doesn't need to be some daunting chore. Once you start appreciating the entire process, you will learn to love it even more and more. All right, let's start cooking this rice. The water is to a boil. We're going to remove the rice from the water and add it right in there. We want to cook it about 75% of the way, which is only going to take about 5 to 6 minutes. It should be al dente and slightly crunchy. And at this stage, we're really just going to bounce back and forth, occasionally stirring the onions and going back to check out the rice to make sure it is not overcooked. That is so crucial here. Once the onions get to this deep, dark brown, crispy consistency, which again takes about 15 to 18 minutes, we're just going to remove them and drain them on some paper towels. Be sure to turn the heat off on that pot. We won't need it for a few more minutes. Now let's go back over to the rice. Honestly, I just like to taste it. It should have a nice crunch to it, al dente. We do not want to cook it through. I cannot stress that enough. Once you get there, again, it only takes about 5 to 6 minutes. We're going to completely drain it off. And because I want to try to bring down the temperature as fast as I can, a little trick we used to do in the restaurant industry is spread it out on a sheet tray just so the layer is really thin and it can cool quicker. The aromas in here are incredible. Now it's time to start cooking the chicken. Things are going to move quickly, so watch carefully. At this point, let's go back to that Dutch oven pot where we fried up our onions. Let's crank the heat on to high heat. It's okay if there's a few extra onions in there. We're next going to pull out our marinated chicken and place it in the oil, spreading it out so that nothing is really overlapping to the best of your ability. Don't forget to use a spatula to get all that extra marinade in there. So much flavor and so much goodness. And once the chicken's in there, we're immediately going to drain off the potatoes from the water and add those in there as well. We want to make sure the potatoes are in there with the chicken, and we're going to cook this for a total of 5 to 6 minutes. Then we'll come back and give it a flip. You're not going to really see a dark brown sear on the chicken. We just want to start this cooking process of frying in the oil. Once flipped over, we cook it for an additional 5 to 6 minutes. Also be sure the potatoes are right there in with the chicken. Then we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of minced fresh mint, 3 tablespoons of the minced fresh cilantro, 2/3 of the crispy fried onions, followed up with the diced tomatoes. We are going to mix all of this together and cook it for 3 to 4 additional minutes. Now just flatten out everything in the pot as best you can with the back side of the spatula because we want to add in layers of rice. Let's add in half of the cooked, cooled down basmati rice. Make sure to not pack in the rice, just spread it out, and wherever it falls, but it should completely cover the chicken. Now we're going to garnish with 2 tablespoons each of the chopped mint and cilantro, followed up with half of the remaining fried onions. We're going to season it up with a little coarse salt. Then we're going to repeat the process completely with the remaining half cooled basmati rice. Again, garnish with 2 more tablespoons each of fresh mint and cilantro. Season with a little more coarse salt, then add on the remaining fried onions and maybe leave a teaspoon or so extra for some garnish at the end. And in case you're wondering, yes, I removed the cinnamon, star anise, and cardamom pot so it's not a minefield when you're eating the rice. And now at this stage, I'm going to add on a 1/4 cup of ghee in total in 1 to 2 teaspoon increments all around the top of the rice. It will drip down and flavor up everything. And now what we want to do is strain off the saffron threads through a fine mesh colander in a circular motion just to get a little bit of that yellow coloring through the rice. Remember, it's more of a garnish here. And now to ensure our Dutch pot is airtight, I'm going to first add on a sheet of heavy duty foil. Now, classically, you would use a simple flour water dough combination and put it on the top lip of this pot to enclose it in. This is known as dumb cooking, but hey, it's really sticky. I'm not going to do that. Add on the lid, and we are going to cook it over your lowest heat setting possible for 30 to 35 minutes or until the chicken is cooked through and the potatoes are tender. Let's come back, take off the top, and have a look. Gorgeous. This right here, this is the good stuff about cooking. Just enjoying every step of the way, stopping to smell and taste things throughout the process. This is what I love about cooking. Using classical techniques to make good food and the stories that are going to be told around the table while eating this. Oh, good food makes the best memories. All right, let me show you how I plate this up. What I like to do is add all the rice to the center of the plate and then add the chicken around the outside. And remember I said to save a few teaspoons of that fried onion garnish. We're going to add this to the top, and then any remaining finely minced fresh mint and cilantro really bring some freshness and green color to this dish. And hands down, one of the most satisfying feelings you can get from cooking is seeing your friends and family smile and enjoy what you're cooking. And this is one of my wife's favorite dishes, so it was such a joy to make it. And of course, when the kid is happy, life is good. This is what cooking's all about. Does it require some spices? Yep. Does it take a little bit? Yep. But I promise you the end result is worth every step of it. Some dishes just take longer to cook, but I think you, your family, and your friends are gonna love the flavors in this. And if you love this, the only way to eat it is with naan. I've got an amazing recipe video. Check it out. See you on there.